Hello, I am so excited. I am your friend and women's empowerment coach, Anabel Quintanilla of Chingona Living. And I have with me today none other than another Chingona herself, Viridiana, who is the founder and mastermind behind Chingona Inc. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about what she's doing today. Hello, Viri. Welcome to my podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited. Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in Vegas. Nice weather.
Yes, it is. Yesterday was insane.
Nice. Oh, it's been beautiful. Only
Oh
been
my God.
complaining.
Oh my God. And I'm so glad you're in Vegas. So you and I met. I had a moment of courage. And I think I told you this, right? I had a moment of courage when I changed my name from what it was previously my business name, my identity, to Chingona Living. And I was like, I'm gonna make friends with other Chingonas. And then I started like doing this massive Instagram search, and you were like the first person that popped up. And then I reached out and I thought I saw she lives in Vegas. I'm like, it's meant to be, and I love that we have been connected ever since. I'm really excited, and yes, we can talk a little bit about Chingona Inc. I really want to talk about you though, because we are not always our brand, right? Like our brand takes off and it does this one thing, and we're so much more, like we were just talking about before I hit record. Somos multidimensionales. So tell me a little bit about what you do, how you got started, and then we'll take it from there.
Yes, I mean, definitely 5 years ago, before I had started my brand, I would have never pictured myself where I'm at now. And I'm very thankful for the experiences and, everything that got me there and towards there. And like you said, there's just so much more to come. And I'm super excited for that. But I guess a little bit about me is I'm Mexican. So I'm Mexicana. I was born in Mexico City. I came here as a baby, crossed the border as like a 1-year-old. My mom came here first, then my dad came here, then they called for me and my aunt. I grew up in San Luis Obispo, California, which is like very central, little small, beautiful town, gorgeous, but not very diverse. I didn't grow up with a lot of diversity. I was like one of a couple Latinos or Mexicans that, were in my class. So I didn't feel like I very much related to everybody because, I was doing the whole Selena thing, trying to be Mexican enough for the Mexicans, American enough for the Americans. And I grew up, not very in touch with my culture and my Latina side, as much as I wish I could, but definitely moving into my teenage years and finally deciding I want to do graphic design. I want to be an artist. It's kind of when I had more in touch with my cultura and all that. And it definitely all happened at the right time for the right reason. I literally was just graduated with graphic design degree, but nobody would hire me as a graphic designer. So I decided to kind of just start messing around with patterns, different things, fun stuff. In particular, I was looking for a Chingona sticker, and I couldn't find one that I wanted to buy. So I didn't really think much of it other than just creating one for me. I was just like, I just want to buy one and put it on my, I don't even remember, I think it was like my computer. That's it. And then it was during that time it was print on demand sites. So I've been using Redbubble in particular, which you don't have to put any money into it. You just upload your designs, they print and ship everything for you, and then you get a cut, which was like 25 cents. And out of nowhere, I just get like boom, boom, all these emails, like people were buying my sticker. And I was just like, people like these? I was like very, very like surprised, and also like, after receiving so much reduction with graphic design, like it felt like a little bit more of an assurance that like, okay, this is something, I'm onto something. And from there I started creating more designs, more things, and putting myself out there. I think the biggest step that I took was put myself out there on social media because I wasn't a big social media person before this. And I just, posting my artwork was like, very, very hard. It's not easy. Wasn't easy for me to take criticism. But if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have reached, where I am at now. And, I'm super excited for the next step, which is helping other people with their graphic design.
Wow. And it started with a sticker. I mean, querías una pinche calcomanía. That's what you wanted. You wanted a sticker. Do you have it anywhere near you by chance?
It's
No, that's okay.
not near me, but yeah, it's It was literally just Chingona with the florals around it. It's like the floral pattern. And that
I think I might have seen it. I think it might have been like the first thing that I ever saw from you. And I think I even reposted it because I loved it so much. And I was like, I was new to the social media world as well. I mean, I still am compared to you when you really think about it. But I think I remember seeing it now. Okay, okay. Wow, it started with a sticker. How insane. And now you're helping other brands brand themselves, other companies brand themselves. Do you have an interview process? I mean, ¿cómo es eso? And is it mostly Latino brands or are you across the board right now?
I'm everywhere as far as it, but I am like targeted more in my Latinas, you know, just because that hits more home for me. And, you know, I think we all deserve to have branding, feasible branding and costs that, because I understand like when starting your business, not having as many resources. I've been there, like it's not easy. Like the last thing you're thinking of is like branding and, spending X amount of money for, logo. You're just trying to get like day-to-day stuff, but it really does make like a huge difference in selling yourself in the market and standing out from your competitors. So it's something that I want to educate more on. And, even thinking about it now, like the education of it is important, which helps me and my new content actually. But no, it's anybody and everybody. A lot of it has come from word of mouth, either locally or online. A lot of people knew me more for just Chingona Inc. and the Chingona Inc. designs, and then the loteria, the custom loterias, which, I did quite a bit for a while. Everybody wanted me to make one for their career and everything. And like for a while there, I was making one like almost every day. Like anybody would say anything and I would make it. And it's like, boom, done. And I'd have it up. I definitely burned out on that. It's a lot that happened for a year.
Thank you for getting my Loteria t-shirts done before the burnout, by the way.
I mean, I still enjoy doing it. I'm not going to say that I don't, but I'm not going to say I'm going to make a new one every day. That's completely different. I do enjoy more the aspect of it being personalized. I like making ones that look like someone and, just because it's more personal and like has little touches. And then I like to see what they do with them afterwards. Like I had this recent one with a baby. It was her first birthday. So she made her invitations and then she had it like as toppers on her birthday cake and just used it everywhere. But it looked exactly like the baby, based off of some images. But yeah, then from there, it's like, okay, t-shirt design. I started getting reach out for t-shirts, like design t-shirts, like I designed some shirts for Chasing Camila, like a fitness brand. And then I was just like, you know what, like I kind of just miss designing, like being creative and not so much the back end of, the day-to-day stuff, with products and orders and all that stuff. So now I'm like, I just miss being creative. And I'm like, I want to help other people design and brand themselves. And in particular, I have everybody in the market. It's not just Latinas, but, I definitely held a closer little place for my Latinas because, I've been there as a
and well, and you still are, right? I mean, you're still Latina, and I get you. You said that you've, make your services feasible and accessible. And that's really what I'm doing too with my core program, the Chillona Chingona. I've made it so that because I had this moment, if you will, where it's like, I want to help women, right? You want to help Latinas brand themselves, and they deserve good quality, fun branding that really speaks to their soul. And I want that, right? I want it to speak to their souls y quiero ayudarles a cambiar las chingaderas que tienen en la cabeza. And yet they can't afford me, right? It's like, you want this thing that I offer, you want it so bad, you have to like mortgage your life to have access to me, to my tools. And I kind of had this, who the hell are you moment, but it wasn't imposter syndrome like it had been in the past, right? In the past, imposter syndrome, like, who do you think you are? With that doubtful, and this, who do you think you are, was like more of a, you're out of alignment with what you're here to do on earth, Annabelle, right? I know I'm not meant to be poor. I'm not meant to be broke. I'm not meant to do pro bono stuff all the time, right? That's not what Spirit wants of me. He wants me to be in alignment with this greater version, which is like, you said your mission is to help Latinas and to empower them. Well, let's do that. And there are a lot of Latinas who, like you said, they're just starting off in life, right? They're just starting off in business. They're barely getting their feet wet in this thing that they want to do. And I remember what it was like for me to start my business. And everybody was like, oh, well, the more you invest in your business, the better it's going to be. And the more that you invest in these systems and these structures and these products and these processes, like, the more successful. And the more that I did that, the more that I poured into it, the more disconnected I felt from my mission. Right. So I think I have a really good understanding of what your mission is, right? Quieres también empoderar a latinas chingonas a sentirse como chingonas que son, right? And they're going to do that through their business, right? Nobody's going to want to start a business and still be like this little, like, oh yeah, well, buy my coffee mugs, right? Or buy my stickers, right? Like that's not what we want for our people, right? Like that's not what I want for my clients. You said assurance. You said that you craved more creativity, that you missed being creative, and that there was something when you were being very creative at the very beginning with just the sticker, that there was this assurance that you were on the same path, that you were on the right path. And then a couple of weeks ago, I saw a post of yours on Instagram that talked about you never believed in manifesting until now. So tell me, how is it that you are able to listen to your creativity, tune into it, be assured of when you're on the right path, and now you're even saying that you're manifesting things? What are you manifesting, and how do you know that you're doing it?
Well, unfortunately, like, I think we are all like always looking for validation, whether it be from, even ourselves, we're looking for it everywhere. I mean, I did, that's all I did my whole life, is find validation, even though I tried to hide behind this image that I don't need this, I don't need that, whatever. Even, graduating from graphic design school, like I was just so happy that I graduated, that I got there, that I got to that point. It was first generation, all that stuff. But I wasn't confident in myself to go and pursue graphic. Not to mention that graphic design is a very non-diverse. It's much more diverse now, but like when I was going to school, like I was also one of the few. I hung out with all the minorities. It was like me and two Asians, and we were like the only minorities that we hung out together.
We're all Chads and Johns and okay.
Yeah, so I didn't feel like I belonged there. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't up to par in so many ways. And so like me getting that degree and then leaving and then being like, okay, what's next? Which is like, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for in any way to be a designer, and I wasn't confident in myself. And it was always like, okay, I want to just have, even though I was doing graphic design and I was probably doing some freelance work for everybody, like I was just thinking like, okay, like I'm not a real designer yet because I don't have the position. I don't have a job. I don't have the title.
This is all imposter syndrome that we're talking about, by the way, right? Like for those who are listening and who like, oh yeah, that happens to me too. What Vidi is sharing is that this is imposter syndrome. We all have it to varying degrees.
Which, by the way, I've learned more recently, with your coaching, because, I had Annabelle as my life coach, and it's been, the most amazing experience. Highly recommend her. Kind of give me an insights about the fact that like I literally am just in my head and that I can change my thoughts, and how to catch my thoughts earlier before I get back into that hole that I kind of fall into every once in a while. But in general, yeah, I just always felt this is just the way I am. I'm just like this. I don't know why I'm like this, but I'm just like this. And it's just like, and I have to just ride the wave. But, it's not like that. There's help. There's things you can do. And, highly recommend her. She's definitely worth it all. But going back, yeah, to like, validating ourselves, and I didn't feel validated. That's kind of what I've been searching for is like validation. And I did that through my brand. And it's like, once I got like people like my work, and I just never thought, and like, I originally started as a graphic designer, and I didn't really go in thinking I was going to start a brand. I just wanted to create beautiful stuff. And definitely going back in and realizing like now I want to go back to graphic design, like to what originally was my purpose. That's like where I, where I started, where I wanted, and really go back to the basics and the joy, and not like going off like what people are telling you, like you said, what to do and where to go and what's the next step, and like, getting back to my roots and really listening to myself and trusting myself is big. And also just realizing my relationship with money. I've learned a lot in your program about like the way that I am trying to make money makes a difference. Like, the way that I'm putting stuff into existence, like scared money doesn't, make, what is the saying again? Scared money don't make money.
Yeah.
So it's like you're just attracting that. And I didn't really realize that was what I was doing. Like I didn't really realize manifestation was really a thing. I think, I grew up super religious, and I grew up very much in hustle culture. So it's like you work hard, and you put in what you get. And if you want something to happen, you make it happen. You work till freaking 3 jobs if you have to get it done. And God first, and God's, only God is the, like sort of the way through anything. You get through everything. And it's like, so there's no, like, wasn't really any room for manifestation. I think manifestation was like some magical thing that you were like praying to something that that wasn't God, and it wasn't
we
right.
were begging. I mean, praying to me was more like begging. It was like, por favor, Diosito Santo, y Dios mío. And there's no faith or belief in that. That was begging, right? That's how I was taught to pray. I don't know about you, but anyhow, yeah, manifesting was woo-woo. It was
Yeah, it's just like some magical brujeria or something like that. And it's like, it's a whole different thing. It's just kind of just trusting. I think it's more just trusting myself, and like that I believe in myself, and that I have the abilities to do what I want to do. And if I want to change course, it's okay to change course. And also just trusting the universe or their higher power, whether that be God, but also like not putting so much pressure on yourself, that if things go wrong, that, it's just, it's the energy that you're putting into things. And people see it when you're selling them, when you're interacting with them. Like it's all a huge difference. And I think in the end, it all works out. I think for a long time, I worried day to day of different things and looking too much in the future, and also concentrating too much in the past. So I was living in the past and I was living in the future all at once. So can you imagine that in your head? That's like exhausting.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. And you're not alone when in this process, right? You're not just the only client that I've had, but I've done it. A lot of my clients do it. Half of the women in the world do the exact same thing, and the other half doesn't do it yet because maybe they're too young, but they eventually will be stuck. We're straddling the past and the future, and we forget about how powerful the right now is, right? And I don't pretend to be an Eckhart Tolle. His book is amazing, right? The Power of Now. His book is amazing. And it's so simple that it blows your mind. And it's so simple that you think, no way. Like, no way. I just have to come back to right now. Yes, you just have to come back to right now. And this right now becomes the next right now. And it's like so simple that it's almost like hard to wrap your mind around it, because we are brought up in, like you said, the la cultura religiosa, the hustle culture, where it's like, pídele a Dios y con el favor de Dios y Dios primero. And it's like, the God that I am in a relationship with today, he's like, I'm not that asshole you grew up with, It's like, I don't know who you thought I was, but thanks for giving me a chance. Like I'm a pretty nice person, right? And I don't even know that God is a man. I don't know, right? Like God is an energy to me. But I hear you. And so how did you, because I did not do it, right? I might have been your life coach for a little bit, but I did not do the work. You did. So what happened? What clicked for you? que pudiste decir a la chingada. I get that this is how I've always been and what I've always believed and how I grew up. And I mean, just the fact that you were 1 year old and you were brought across the border, that had to, I know, it had to have left behind something in your little human body, right? Something that we can call trauma, but it left something behind in your little cuerpecito, right? So what happened in coaching that you just said, oh, I can breathe? ah.
Well, I mean, I've had, yeah, the traumas have been, you know, we all go through our traumas. Like to say that nobody has traumas is, you know, but some of us probably take them a little bit longer, or we haven't. I mean, I think importantly, I've never been taught how to deal with my traumas and like how to move past them and not, you know, because I think there's a fine line. There's different ways of doing different things. You know, I did therapy. I've done therapy for years. I've said I've done therapy. I've always been a big advocate of it. And I think it still works, but I also feel like you do need more direction, especially when you haven't trained your mind to say nice things to yourself, to get out of things, to deal with like just simple depression or, you know, whatever, a bad day or something like that. It's because you can sit in those bad days for a lot longer and they could really, you know, and this last time around, you know, I think I finally sat down and dealt with them in a different way with you than I have before. And I think the biggest factor that helped was like actually healing those. And I think most importantly, accepting people for who they are as they are, because if you don't do that, then you're going to keep going around in a circle in your head about like changing, and you don't even, like, at the end of the day, you don't concentrate on yourself. You end up concentrating on just changing other people. And I think that's like the base of like unhappiness is just like you're not concentrating on yourself. But most importantly, it's just like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to be worried about anybody else. And I mean, of course, you know, care about other people, but like to the point where you're sabotaging yourself and not taking care of yourself, or stop taking care of yourself. And I think importantly, it's just like, you're just number one, no matter what. Like you have to take care of yourself before you pour it into another cup. And I deserve it. Like, you know, changing my verbiage has been even huge, which I've learned with you, is the way of talking to myself, forcing myself to do things and wondering why it always comes back as like failure, or like, you know, come back as like, I'm just tired, exhausted. It's just the energy that we put into things and the way that we present it even to ourselves makes a huge difference. And I got tired of going in my cycle, the cycle that I kept creating. And it's still a work in progress, but I feel completely different about dealing with things and moving on from my traumas, and just at the end of the day, just letting go, let that shit go.
Yes, let that shit go. And you know, you talk about the circle, right? And we all have these habit loops that we get caught up in. And becoming aware of the habit loop is so important, because when you're aware, when you step out of the loop to see yourself in the loop, right? You're like, oh, I see it. And it's that removal of your awareness, or your removal of your energy from the loop and taking a look at the loop, right? Like noticing that you're in the loop, that you're like, okay, I can go in any other direction. And you said, you know, you're number one no matter what. We are not born believing that. We are not, right? There, in our childhood, there comes, you know, I'm co-raising, I'm not raising her alone, right? But I'm helping my daughter raise my granddaughter. She's with me, you know, between the two grandmas, we split watching her when my daughter and her boyfriend work. So she's with us a good amount of time. And I see how important she is, and how, you know, how much care she requires. And I'm wondering, like, how did it happen for us where we were so important, so cared for, so valuable, that the message might have been as, you know, you're so important, you're so valuable, to you're not that important, you're not that valuable anymore, right? Like, prove yourself, earn it. Like, how did it go? And it's interesting. I'm just having a little moment. My daughter asked me Sunday, she said, Mom, what do she's 25. Okay. She's like, Mom, what do I have to do to earn such pretty nails like yours from, you know, Mystic Nail, where I go, pretty and polished? Like, what do I need to do? And I was like, she's literally asking me what song and dance, what show, what fucking performance does she need to put on so that she is worthy of a gift from me? I like, within seconds, I saw it, I heard it, because that's what we do to our kids. You better get good grades. Mija, pórtate bien. Mija, haga sus oraciones, right? Dios primero, and da da da. And I grew up Catholic. Your religion is different, right? But it's like, I remember like the whole having to earn everything. And I was like, where does it change? Because I don't see my granddaughter like, well, you better earn your 4 ounces of formula, honey. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you want your diaper changed? Well, you better earn that, you know, like we don't, where does it change? Right? Like, we go from treating our children just like giving them, you know, what they need, and to like, no, you got to earn that shit. Right? Like, where does hustle culture start? So to close the story on my daughter's nails, I looked at her and I said, absolutely nothing. I'd love to treat you to your nails. You deserve to have beautiful nails. She's like, really? And I'm like, yes. You don't have to do anything. It felt so good to say that to my 25-year-old daughter. Like, no, you don't have to earn anything from your mother. I love you and you deserve it. Here you go. I know that's a sore subject for you, right? So the way that I see you today is that you've gone from that hustle culture to flipping the reverse switch to, I deserve it. I don't need to earn shit. Like, yeah, I'm gonna work for it, because work is part of the manifestation formula. It's built into that manifestation formula, but I don't have to work for it to earn, to deserve it, because otherwise I'm not worthy of it. I haven't earned my bones, right? Like, there's a different type of energy. And so I've been doing that with myself as well. Like, yesterday, my granddaughter did not want to nap alone. She wanted me to be right there with her. And I was like, I deserve to nap with my granddaughter. I don't have to clean my house, do the laundry, wash the dishes. I don't have to earn my fucking nap. I deserve a nap with my granddaughter. And I'm just going to take a nap with my granddaughter. Right? And it's freedom. It's freedom is what I'm trying to say. Do you feel free?
I do. I mean, it's still process. I didn't think I deserved a lot of that stuff. I mean, it was hard. It's still hard for me to sit still. It's hard for me to sit in my thoughts sometimes. And, you know, I think I'm used to the go, go, go. Like, I've been going for like a long time. And I think that's why this past year, it makes me emotional. But this past year, I finally said, like, I'm tired. I'm tired of like, go, 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 because I've just been avoiding my feelings, avoiding dealing with stuff. And that's what I've been doing my whole life. It's just go, go, go. But, you know, like, the hustle culture started, and I didn't really believe in this either, which is the freaking ancestor trauma, like, you know, like past, you know, like, you know, my grandma did it. She worked herself till the very, very end. Like, she worked a lot, and then like the whole thing was just like, you know, she was single, she never remarried,
unfortunately, my grandpa left and started another family, but she never remarried. All she did was work for her kids until they all left, and still worked for them and the grandkids. Then my mom worked for us, and unfortunately, like, I didn't get the relationship I wanted with her because she worked all the time, but she wasn't like a bad mother. She's just, that's all she knew. She knew she had to work for her kids. She worked 2 jobs, and worked when she stopped working, she didn't know what to do with herself. And then with me, it's like I left my house early and started working, worked 3 jobs, worked multiple jobs. And it wasn't until I found Chingona Inc. that, I had a little bit
You
more.
didn't find it, you manifested it,
Or
you
manifested.
created it.
I, had a little bit more freedom. And even now, like, things are changing, like, about like where I want to go in the direction, and, really evaluating like what really makes me happy. And it doesn't make me happy to continue to run myself to death. And like, but it's been a process. It's been a process, a very long process, because I am used to go, go, go. I can't sit still. Sometimes I even like, on Saturday and Sundays, I used to work. I used to work like 7 days a week. I was working, like, I wouldn't Sunday off. I would still, post on the weekends. Like, I mean, it's still, blurry, but at least some days I'm just like, I don't want, I want to take this day off. I need to, I deserve it. But even sitting there and doing the whole, like, I'm not doing anything, I will be like, hey, what did you do all day? What did you just sit here and do nothing? Like, you should at least clean. You should at least go to the workout. And it's like, Demetria, which was Nancy for me, just telling me like, what do you like, it's almost like it's like an addict that's addicted to freaking like staying busy. Like, I'm just like and I get antsy. Like, I'm just like, I gotta get up and do something. And it's just like, I have to bring myself back down and be like, you don't have to do anything, and it's okay. And it's like talking myself through it and sitting in those feelings, because I've had some coping mechanisms that haven't been the greatest either. And, I love my food, I love my alcohol, I love all that stuff. But it's also like, where is it just coping and drowning out versus just actually dealing with the shit and sitting there sitting in it has been the hardest thing ever. It's not easy, but I think it's been a lot harder. I mean, a lot easier to do and more benefiting for me to do it, because now it's not like the codependency on all these things that have just caused me more harm.
Yeah, and you are really describing what the work looks like, right? I mean, it's the city. None of this is fun. None of this is pleasant. None of this is like, oh yay, a la chingada con todo eso. Like, none of us want to sit with our darkness, in our darkness, and take a look at all this stuff. But if we don't know how to look at it, and we don't know how to befriend it or soften the energy, or maybe even pity the energy, like sometimes I pity Demetria, right? You pity Nancy, I pity Demetria, and I'm like, ay, pobrecita de ti, Demetria, es que no conoces mejor manera. Let me show you, right? Let me show you that there's a better way, right? Like, you would do the same with Nancy. You'd be like, oh, Nancy, you poor thing. Who hurt you, right? And like, you ask that question, and it's like there's a whole list, right, of all the people who quote unquote hurt you. So sitting with that is so important, and I see you doing that. And yes, you recognize that it's your grandma, it's your mom, it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. And it's been you your entire life. Hustling is how you have survived. It's how you've been able to build the empire that you have today. And it's how you're building wealth for yourself and, maybe future generations, right? It's learning a new way. And you're doing it by asking questions that were not allowed. Like, what makes me happy? When did you ever hear your mom ask? My mother never asked me, Mija, are you happy? It would never. And my mother was an amazing person. I mean, maybe she died when I was 14. Maybe had she lived longer, she might have eventually asked me that question, but I never heard her ask me that question. Like, I'm recalling family stuff, and nobody has ever asked me, Mija, ¿Te hace feliz? ¿Eres feliz? ¿Qué te hará feliz, mija? No, like the concept of happy just never came up. It's what do you want? What are you going to do to get it? Hustle, right? Hustle. You work hard, you play hard. It's the concept of hard. It's never the concept of easy. I was thinking of a post the other day. I'm like, can we normalize taking days off? Not on weekends and not because you're sick. I mean, just take a day off. Just take a fucking day off because you want it. Like, just
The thing is, like, not everybody can have the luxury to do that too.
not everybody has the luxury. You're absolutely right, right? So I just a couple days ago had my whole Demetria was like, oh, take a day off. It's Wednesday, right? And I know that there are people who can't. And so knowing that there are people who cannot, I honor that. I see that. I can. And so I will. And I will create it so that others can and will, right? It's not a, look at me, I'm so much better than you because you can't take a day off, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you can, especially if you've created it for yourself, then honor that, right? Put yourself in that state of abundance where you're like, thank you. Thank you, higher self. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Thank you, Allah. Thank you, Jehovah. Thank you, Mother Nature. Thank you. You know, I'm going to enjoy this day off because I deserve it. Thank you. And when we create that energy and we soften that energy, we make it so for other people. Porque si no continuamos estos ciclos, right? We continue these cycles, we pass it on to, I heard it in my daughter, what do I need to do to earn some nails? And she's 25 and she went into little girl mode with her tone and her body language, and it broke my heart. And I was like, I did that. And I'm breaking the shit right now. And hopefully one day when she has a daughter, she can pass on the message that, hey, yes, we do have to work for the things that we deserve because it's built into the manifestation formula, but you're already deserving of it. And there's no song and dance required.
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, like most of us, I mean, I don't say most of us, but like a lot of us didn't grow up being told all these things. Like, I see these videos of these little girls, that literally have these mantras already, like they're 5, 7 years old, and I am beautiful, I'm kind, and I'm just like, they have, all the confidence in the world, and it's like the cutest thing ever. And it's just like, that it's because that's what, because kids here with parents here, so, anytime I think like, I'm like, I see like a misbehaved one and it's like cussing, and you're just like, oh, what is going on? Obviously they're getting it from the parents. So, I mean, I think it is super important, like what parents are doing, they have a huge impact in the way certain kids are going to be in the future and how they're going to, like, you can tell certain people that were given that extra lift, that extra, like, they don't question it. It's true to them. Like, and like, it's not even like a form of question. They don't, and it's natural. It comes natural to them. And those people go in and get those jobs they want. They go in there and they get what they want because they deserve it. They know it. They don't know versus
we call them lucky.
Right. The lucky, or, well, for me, obviously, like, I sometimes want to say, like, I've called it, for me, because I'm Latina and I grew up very Mexican, and I was just always thought like, okay, like they're white, they grew up with privilege, they grew up with everything, like money, like, especially going to school, I was just like, they don't have to work, they don't have to, like, they can just control themselves, they
got it made,
have a car, like everything's paid for. And it's not always like that. It's always different for everybody, because I think at the end of the day, like, it's like the voice that you hear from your mom, your dad, that's telling you the pressure that molds you, who you're going to be. But I definitely think that's super important, and it would have made a difference in me if I had heard a little bit more of, I deserve, I'm important, I don't need this or that, because living in a very kind of being so self-aware of like yourself and like what other people think is just a horrible way to live.
But you were taught that because you probably heard the mira nomás, siéntate bien, pórtate bien, bájate esa blusa, súbete ese pantalón. And it's like we are taught to be not self-aware, self-conscious.
Self-conscious, sorry, that's
right. I mean, but I understood what you're saying, right? Because self-aware is just, it means that you are aware of who you are and who you are being. But we were taught to be self-conscious. And I mean, I did it to my kids too growing up. You don't have kids, right? And I don't know that you ever will or won't have kids, but your messaging already, just in how you carry yourself, right? I mean, you know, we went to Amiga Latina Vegas, and it's like you attract women, and you're showing up with this, like, you showed up with your hat and you looked all sexy and cute, and it's your energy, right? And it's how you speak of yourself today, and it's your messaging on social media, and it's you being totally honest about your journey, that you're changing generations, right? Because just in another woman your age, with or without children, he hears you, sees you, there's going to be a change inside of her. And if there's a change inside of her and she has kids, there's going to be a change in how she relates to her children. So you're doing that for future generations. They may or may not be yours biologically. I want you to see that's the power that we have as women in this community that you are co-creating. Do you see it?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I didn't really see it the way you were putting it, but now it's like, okay, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely always been a thing for me as far as like you said, growing up, I was always like very self-conscious about myself. Like I was in high school, I was a size 4 and I was still self-conscious. I was on a diet. I was on the Atkins diet when I was
Weren't we all?
high school. Like I was a size 4, but I was dieting all the time. And, you know, when I started getting weight older, like I would get comments, but I'm even, you know, religiously, it was just like, don't wear shorts that are short. You know, I wasn't allowed to wear shorts. I wasn't allowed to wear skirts because my body had developed and, you know, I might like attract, you know, the wrong. So I was always like aware of like everything. And I think I got to a point when I left all that and like went on my own that I like just wanted to wear whatever the F I wanted, you know, like I didn't want like the rebel in me just came out. Like I'm just like, fuck that, fuck like the standards of like you're telling me that like that doesn't look good, this doesn't look good. And like even now I run into this with like my sisters and, you know, my family, because they're very like fashionista, and I do believe there's like flattering stuff, but then there's stuff that like I don't care about flattering, I just want to wear it, you know, like crop tops. I'm not the skinniest person ever, but I think anybody should be able to wear them, and I think everybody should be comfortable in what they're wearing. And it's kind of like sad if you know, go in there and play it safe. I feel like it's not fun, you know, to just say I wore freaking white tees or black tees and black pants my whole life because that's what made me feel the skinniest, and that's what like I was the most comfortable, so people wouldn't judge me or look at me too much, you know. It's like I think you're almost hiding in that, like, you know, and it's like life's too short.
Yeah.
Wear the fuck you want.
Life's too short. Wear whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, wear that short skirt, wear that crop top, and, you know, go in there and own it, because nobody else is going to do it for you, and nobody else is going to live that life. And you're not, you know, at the end of the day, you're not there to please other people. You're there to please yourself. So,
and not to talk about sad shit, right? But at some point you said that you were always looking for validation. And aren't we all, right? We're looking for validation, and we think that if I dress the way they want me to dress, si hago lo que quieren que haga, si digo lo que quieren que diga, like, then I will earn their validation. And yet we still don't get it.
no.
Right? So we're left wondering what's wrong with us. I'm doing all the things, and yet you're not giving me what I quote unquote need, right? And so there must be something wrong with me. And what I have to say about validation, and I think that you understand that now, is that it's so nice to get it. It's nice. Oh, thank you. That makes my heart feel so soft and warm and fuzzy, and I'm tingly all over. That feels so nice. Thank you. And I would have been just fine without it. Because if anybody's going to validate herself, it's going to be me. Like, I am my own validation. I'm going to validate me. And you also said, like, the rebel in me went crazy. And we think that this is what, I mean, all of us, like, pasamos por esa etapa de rebeldía, right? Where we're like, ay, que rebelde, and we're doing all these things. And we think that that's the only way that we can express ourselves, is to be labeled as a rebel, or that if we express ourselves, we're labeled as rebels. Why? Why can't we just do the things we want to do because we love ourselves, right? Like, I love myself. I'm going to wear a crop top. I love myself. Don't go putting up giant Oya on you, but I love myself and I'm going to wear the shorts I want to wear. I love myself and I'm going to, right? Like, can we ditch the labels that say, oh, well, it's because you're a rebel. You do whatever you want to do because you're a rebel. How about I do whatever I want to do because I'm a grown ass woman and I love myself? Right?
That I've literally come to terms that I'm just not, like everybody else, and that's okay. And I'm a little bit different. And, even my family, I think I'm, sometimes considered like the black sheep or whatever. I mean, literally, religiously, all that stuff. But like, I think learning to like trust yourself and believe that, what you believe in inside is okay, not like being deferred by someone else is not easy. Because we're constantly being molded and being told, raised with these different standards, raised with these religious ideologies of like what life should be like. And if you're not doing this, then you're wrong and you're black sheep and you're going to hell or whatever. Yeah. It's like a lot of like guilt to carry around. And it's like, it's okay to be yourself, and it's okay to just own it. I think just owning it is like,
I would even say that, yes, it's okay. It's also mandatory. It's mandatory that you be yourself, right? As soon as you realize that you're not happy and you deserve to be happy, the only way to get there is to be true to yourself. And that's what I want to ask you. Like, tell me, if you had to tell, because I'm going to be mindful of your time and the listeners, if you had to boil it down to a few words of wisdom to help a woman evolve from chillona to chingona, what would your message be?
You find out what's holding you back, get down to the patterns, like the things that are holding you back, and then let them go. Let them go, because they're only weighing you down, and concentrate on the present and put yourself first. I think doing the things that you love is where everything comes from. For me, it's like being creative. For me, it's taking time for myself, saying no to other people that, drain me, or, stop being a people pleaser and stop pleasing, because I did a lot of pleasing, and it's still something I'm working on. And honestly, just not caring, what other people think, because that's going to completely bring you down. But I know it's a lot of different things, but yeah, just, I think getting down to the root of what's holding you back, I think is super important. And a lot of it does stem from our childhood and our traumas. And if you haven't had the time to really process it, then it's going to always stay there. And that's kind of what I did for a long time. It's just, figure out, like, know that I had these, but I didn't know how to really deal with them, and like how to actually let them go and see them from a different perspective, because I feel like I played the victim for like a long time, like just poor me. And that's it. That's my story. Well, that's going to continue to be your story. If that's, if that's the way you're going to live, that's the story you're going to put in your head. And it's just like, with Annabelle, I could put a new story in my head, like could become a new person. I mean, like I didn't like really change everything that I am, but like, I see more of those small changes as far as
the way that I outlook life and every day and belief statements and all that stuff.
Gosh, yes. Give me one of your belief statements, the one that you love the most, because I know you practice them often.
I know there's, let's see. Gosh, I'm blanking out right now. I know that I deserve good people in my life. That's one, you know, that I love is, and I deserve to rest. I deserve to take time to rest. I deserve time to read my belief statements. I deserve to journal. I am a successful graphic designer who has worked with amazing brands, and you know, for a long time I still didn't believe that you know, like I think going back to like the value, like valuing yourself, like yes, I think there's a lot of us who, especially Latinas, who underprice ourselves, whether it be like product wise, whether it be what the services we do and all that, and you should definitely price yourself at where you deserve, because we all underprice ourselves. And I definitely think for a long time I still didn't think I deserved to be paid a certain rate, or that I deserved what other people got, you know, that I was always going to just stay in the story of like sidelines, humble, like a little bit here and there. And I don't think we give ourselves.
We were told that. We were told to, mija, que es importante ser humilde, mija. Right? I mean, I'm speaking like my grandmother spoke to me, mija, es que es importante ser humilde, mija, sea humilde. Like, be humble, mija, be humble.
And I still think
humble doesn't mean play small and like stay on the sidelines and like don't kick ass at what you're doing. That's not at all what humble means, right? But yet that's how it was translated to us, like shh,
oh, yeah. Don't like, you know, flaunt everything. And you know, I think that is that image is kind of still not accepted as well. Other people, like the moment, like, you know, because the social media obviously is just a way to, you know, we only show the good stuff. And, you know, the moment people don't accept it as well, when you're like successful or showing your success, and it's like, oh, se cree mucho, es bien creída, like, you know, all that stuff. And it's just like, no, I'm showcasing my accomplishments because I am proud of myself. So orgullosa de yo misma. And I'm like, and I want to share this with other people. It might not be for you, but you know, and I think it all comes back to like not worrying about what other people think, you know, because everybody's, you know, can portray things in a different way sometimes.
Yeah. My husband has this saying that says, I don't know where he read it, but he says, when you're 20, you're so worried. Oh, I'm going to sabotage it. Anyhow, forget it. Forget the comment I was about to make, because I'm going to totally kill it. But it has to do with at one point you realize that nobody's actually ever thinking of you. And here we grow up being so worried about what others are going to think about us. And then one day we realized nobody was actually thinking about us, because everybody was so caught up thinking about themselves and being worried about themselves and not failing and being, you know, afraid of judgment. And we are so caught up in our own fears that we really aren't paying that much attention to other people.
I think at one point you have to be like, nobody really gives a shit about what you do today, or like, and not in like a bad way, but just like nobody's gonna care if you went and had wine at lunch, because you know, or whatever, you know, like, or like I went to the beach, or I went on this trip, because it's like, oh, I'm like, you know, I think I always get caught up in like, okay, people think I'm partying too much, or people think I'm like doing this too much. And it's like, oh, like I'm working too much. It's like always constantly thinking about what other people will think. And it's like, it's sad. It sucks to be in your 20s doing that, because they're like your most precious times. And we're constantly just thinking about everybody else except for ourselves, and like worrying about that. And yeah, at one point I'm like in my 30s, it's just, you know, now that I'm in my 30s, I'm just like, I don't have time for that. I don't want to like sit there and, you know, think what you're thinking, like just tell me, you know, even with like friendships and relationships, I think that's the biggest thing that I realized. I'm just like, we're all adults now. Like, I don't have time to guess what's going on. If you miss me, like I like that saying, like, if you miss me, call me. If you want to see me, text me. Like, people will make the effort to see you. And it's like, you cut all the bullshit in your 30s and you just let it go. You're just like, I don't have time for that.
Well, it gets even better in your 40s. Because in your 40s, you're like, If I'm not for you, please unsubscribe. That was literally in the subject line of the newsletter that I sent yesterday. I hit the title, and then in the subject line, I'm like, if this is not your jam, please unsubscribe.
Yeah, I mean, life's just where we don't like it's. I think we spend a lot of time thinking we're gonna hurt other people's feelings. Like, you know, what did I said? Sit there and like think. The worst is when you sit there and think about things you did, and you're like, I can't believe I did that. Like,
well, that's your Nancy, right?
Yeah.
It's your Nancy who she's playing this memoir of all of your boo-boos and the blooper reel, right? From all the shit you've done growing up, and it still haunts you today. But when you know, oh wait, that's just my unconscious mind trying to keep me safe and trying to keep me from making what it calls a mistake, you're like, I don't have time for that, Nancy. I'm letting that go. I don't believe in that anymore. I'm a new person. Like I'm evolving. I'm evolving. So I am so thankful that you said yes to doing this podcast interview with me today. And I know that there will be more. I know that there are so many things that you have to offer Mujeres Chingonas across the globe. So tell us where they can find you today, or how they can best get a hold of you if they listen to your message and they're like, I want a brand and I want graphic designs. And I know you helped me with my logo that finally feels like me and I love it. So how do they get a hold of you today?
Yeah, so I am on Chingona Inc. everywhere. So that would be chingonainc.com, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and then all my other stuff is linked there too. So the easiest way would be Chingona Inc. or chingonainc@gmail.com to send me an inquiry about any graphic design services. But definitely leaning towards creating myself as a brand now, and that's for just graphic design itself. So you're going to be seeing a lot more, and that'll be under me, Viridiana Osio.
Viridiana Osio.
Yeah.
And that's on Instagram and everywhere.
So that one's on TikTok.
Okay.
It'll like some rebranding, so it's kind of like a little bit of a mess, but Chingona Inc. is always going to get no matter what. It's all the same.
Chingona Inc. is where we shall send everybody. And thank you so much, Vidi, for being here today and for being who you are and this amazing Chingona light in the world that we all need. Necesitamos tu luz. So please remember always to let yourself shine, because you never know where that one woman is who's like, ooh, I needed her today, right? I needed her light. I needed her medicine. I needed her message. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So please let that be your reminder to always let yourself shine. Okay? Te quiero mucho. And I will see you when I see you. Okay? I'll talk to you soon. Don't go anywhere.
Aw.